Which of these intervals of x values will contain the most number of relative minimums for function f when we know the derivative of function f? This is a graphing calculator problem, so you're definitely going to want to graph this derivative. And then recall that a relative minimum occurs when the derivative goes from negative to positive. So the slope is negative here, negative, negative, the slope is 0, and now it's positive. So we're looking for portions of our graph on these intervals where the derivative goes from being a negative value to a positive value. Remember, this here is a graph of this function using our calculator. All right, so let's check the interval from -2 to 2 first of all. So from -2 to 2, we're negative. This slope is negative, negative, negative. Looks like it might become positive here. So it went from negative to positive, which would mean that there's a relative minimum here. That's 1. Negative, 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 positive, 2. There's 2 places where there's a relative minimum on this interval. Let's check the interval from -3 to 1. From -3 to 1, so the derivative is negative and then positive. So there's 1 relative minimum. It's positive and then negative. There'll be a relative maximum there, so we're still at just 1. And then here we are negative and then positive, so there's our second one. So again, 2. All right, next let's check as x goes from -4 to 0. All right, the derivative is negative, goes to positive, so there's a relative minimum. And at this point, it looks like we're not gonna go from negative to positive, so there's just 1 there. Finally, the interval from -1 to 3. Okay, we are negative, then we go to positive, so we have a relative minimum there. And then we are negative, so we go positive, so there's our second relative minimum. And then here we are negative and we go to positive, there's our third relative minimum. So the most relative minimums occurs on the interval from -1 to 3. Choice D.